Hello friends, welcome back to another video. In this video, we will see how we can integrate between Microsoft Entra ID, which is Azure AD, and with Windows AD, which is an on-prem AD, which is basically typically a scenario of a hybrid environment. Okay, so take a scenario wherein we have on-prem Active Directory or we have on-prem infrastructure, and then on top of it, we have few applications running in Azure. And in Azure, we are using Microsoft Entra ID. So how we can integrate between both of the directories so that we don't have to create additional users in Azure, and the user which is created in Windows Active Directory or on-prem AD can log in with the same credentials into cloud. So let's begin. Okay, so the first question around it is, what is Microsoft Entra ID, Azure Active Directory, and how it integrate with Windows Active Directory? Let's see. Microsoft Entra ID, Azure AD is Microsoft cloud-based identity and access management services, which we all know by now. Then integration with Windows AD or on-prem AD. How we can achieve that? So synchronize on-premises AD with Entra ID using Entra Connect, which was known as Azure AD Connect. It is a tool which helps in integrating the on-prem AD with Entra ID, which is Azure AD. Enable hybrid identity solutions such as single sign-on SSO, seamless user authentication across cloud and on-premises resources, and password hash synchronization pass-through authentication or federation. So these are the ways through which we can do the integration between both the ADs. Moving to the next question is, what is Intra Azure AD Connect and what are its key features? Intra Azure AD Connect is a tool that bridges Windows AD and Intra ID, synchronizing user identities for hybrid environment. The key features are synchronization. Synchronize on-premises AD account groups and credentials to Microsoft Entra ID. Password hash synchronization PHS. Hash password is on-premises AD and sync them to Microsoft Entra ID. Pass-through authentication PTA. Validates password directly against on-premises AD. Federation integration supports integration with ADFS or other federation services for authentication. And the last one, writeback features. Support hybrid features like password writeback and group writeback. So these are the ways how we can use Intra Connect or AD Connect, and this will help us in synchronizing or establish the connection between on-prem AD and Intra ID. Moving to the next one. What are the main authentication methods for Microsoft Entra ID in a hybrid environment? Password hash synchronization (PHS) is one of the main authentication method. Now, what it does, synchronize password hash from on-premises AD to Microsoft AD. So password for the user accounts which we have on Prem AD or Windows AD would be synchronized to Entra ID, which is on Azure. What it does next, authentication happens in Microsoft Entra ID. Since Microsoft Entra ID has a password or the credentials of the users, it can authenticate it there itself. It does not have to send the request for authentication to Azure to Windows AD. Pass-through authentication, which is another way of authentication, which is known as PTA. Authenticates directly against on-premises AD using an agent. So what it does here, it does not synchronize the password. When there is an authentication request, there is an agent which takes the request to on-prem AD and then it get authenticates. Federated authentication uses an external identity provider like ADFS or a third-party services for authentication. Supports advanced authentication scenarios like smart card or multi-factor authentications. The next question, how does single sign-on SSO works in hybrid setup? SSO enables users to log in once and access both on-premises and cloud resources without additional authentication prompts. The methods used for SSO are seamless SSO. Microsoft Entra ID automatically signs in users when they are in a domain joined device. Federated SSO relies on a federation service like ADFS for authentication. Password-based SSO stores credentials in Microsoft Entra ID for non-Azure AD apps. What is seamless single sign-on? Seamless SSO and how it is configured. So seamless SSO authentication signs in users when they are on domain joined devices connected to the corporate domain. Configuration setup, how we can do the configuration. Enable seamless SSO in Azure AD Connect. Configure service principal name SPN in AD. Ensure the browser settings allow automatic login. So these are the ways how we can, these are the steps how we can do the configuration of a seamless SSO. Now moving to the next. What is the difference between password hash synchronization and password through authentication? So as we have seen, there are two ways of authentication. One is PHS, password hash synchronization, and PTA, which is pass through authentication. So we'll see what are the difference between both of them in different parameters. So in terms of performance, faster. Password already exists in Microsoft Entra ID, so it is faster. It does not, whenever there is an authentication request comes through, it would not have to send the request back to on-prem, and it would be able to authenticate then and there, so it is fast. May introduce latency as it is depends on on-prem, so the request has to go to on-prem AD, it will get authenticated, comes back, and then users will be allowed to log in. Security. Password stored securely in Microsoft AD as hash, so it is secure. No password stored in Azure AD. In case of PTA, there is no password stored in Azure AD. Authentication location. Microsoft Entra ID, on-prem ID. So these are the locations where it get authenticate. Dependency. No on-prem dependency for authentication. Require an active on-premises environment. So in case of PHS, we would not have a dependency on on-prem environment for any authentication. However, on the other hand, for PTA, we will be always dependent on on-prem environment, and it has to be available always for authentication. So these are the difference between the PT and PHS, which is a very important part of any decision making, which one we should follow. Moving to the next, how does password write back work and why it is important? Password write back allows users to reset their intra ID password and have the change written back to their on-prem AD. So what it does, it allow if a user is connected to Azure AD and they want to change their password, they would be able to change the password there, and the updated password would be written back into the on-prem AD, which is that is what it called as write back. Now the benefits of it: simplifies password reset management, enables self-service password reset SSPR for hybrid environment, reduce help desk dependency. So these are the three benefits of using write back mechanism. Now moving to the next. What is ADFS and how does it integrate with Microsoft Entra ID? Active Directory Federation Service ADFS is an on-premises identity provider that supports SSO and federated authentication. Integration with Microsoft Entra ID. Act as, act as an identity provider for Microsoft Entra ID. Microsoft Entra ID redirects authentication requests to ADFS for validation. Useful for advanced authentication requirements like certificate-based authentication. Now, the next one. What is hybrid Microsoft Entra Join and why it is important? So, hybrid Microsoft Entra Join allows Windows devices to be joined on both on-premises AD and Azure AD, which is Entra ID. Importance, why it is important. Enables SSO for cloud and on-premises resources. We can enable SSO for both environment. Simplifies device management through tools like Microsoft Intune. Supports conditional access policy. So these are the benefits we have when we have Microsoft Intra Join. Moving to the next one. What is the difference between Microsoft Intra Join and hybrid Microsoft Intra Join? So we have two things. One is Microsoft Intra Join and hybrid Microsoft Intra Join. So let's see what are the different authentications. Authentication happens at Azure AD credentials for Microsoft Intra Join, and in hybrid Microsoft Entra Join on-premises and Azure AD credential. So authentication happens on both the places. Management. Manage via Intune and other cloud tools. Co-manage via on-premises AD and Azure tools. Device ownership. Cloud-only device, example personal device. Domain joined devices synced to Azure AD. Moving to the next. How do you enable conditional access for hybrid identities? Conditional access policies require users to meet specific conditions before accessing resources. The steps are: define conditions, example, device state, user location. This could be the conditions which needs to be fulfilled. Require hybrid Microsoft Entra join or compliant devices for access. Integrate with multi-factor authentication MFA. So these are the steps which help us to enable conditional access for an hybrid identities. Moving to the next, what tool can you use to troubleshoot hybrid identity issues? AD Connect Health. Monitor sync error, PTA issues and federation health. The second is sign in logs in Intra ID, tracks authentication events and identifies issues. Event viewer in Windows Server monitors AD and Intra ID Connect related errors. So these are the ways we can troubleshoot hybrid identity issues. Moving to the next, how does Intra ID handle group synchronization with Windows AD? So first, groups from on-prem AD are synchronized to Azure AD using Intra Connect. Second, type of group synchronization, security group, distribution group, as mail-enabled groups in Intra ID. Features like group writeback allow Intra ID groups to be written back to on-prem AD. What is Intra Connect Health and how does it help? Intra Connect Health is a monitoring tool for hybrid identity environments. Features: track sync error and ADFS related issues, provides insight into performance and usage, sends alerts for potential issues, example certificate expiration in ADFS. The next one, what are security best practices for integrating Intra ID with on-prem AD? Use password hash synchronization PHS if possible to reduce dependency on on-premises infrastructure. Second, enable multi-factor authentication MFA for both cloud and on-premises account. Regularly monitor Azure AD Connect health. Secure Azure AD Connect services with least privilege and network isolation. Use conditional access policies to enforce device compliance. Thank you for watching this video. Hope it has been useful. See you again in the next video. Thank you.